At 10:30, the Iraqi girl who says US troops massacred her family. Was she a witness to a war crime? That's at 10:30. Did this little girl witness one of Iraq's worst massacres? Tonight, the story of what could be an atrocity of war. The Americans say it was crossfire. She says it was murder. The US military has now launched an investigation into the incident. Also tonight, in disarray, the Home Office published new figures on racist attacks, but we discover a quarter of them are wrong. Going into extra time, now the first match at Wembley won't be played until next year. And
I remember when I lost my mind.
Not in the shops, the new song that's going to #1, even though you can't buy it in the high street.
And in the Northwest, controversy as the American Secretary of State arrives for a visit to Liverpool and Blackburn.
Good evening. She says she saw her family massacred in front of her eyes. If her account is true, she may have been witness to a war crime. In an exclusive interview for ITV News, a 10-year-old Iraqi girl who was wounded herself described in simple words the shocking events on the day US Marines burst into her house. Imam Walid's account of what happened is the subject of a US military inquiry. People in the town of Haditha say the Americans shot dead 15 civilians in revenge for the killing of a Marine by a roadside bomb. The interview was filmed by our Iraqi video diarist Ali Hamdani. Paul Davis has been listening to her distressing story.
These young eyes have seen horrors no one should be exposed to. Her eyewitness account of the massacre of her family shames a superpower.
I hate the Americans. The whole world hates them for what they have done here.
Imam Walid's story is written in the blood of those closest to her. An Iraqi student filmed her home a short time after the US Marines called. The bodies of men, women and children, Imam's family, lie wrapped in blood-soaked rugs. After initial denials, the Americans now admit their men shot them. To try to understand how this could have happened and to make sense of conflicting versions, an Iraqi cameraman familiar to ITV News viewers travelled to Haditha in western Iraq. There, Ali Hamdani, whose video diaries are regularly broadcast on the news at 10:30, met the young survivor and heard her story.
The American soldiers came into our house at 7 o'clock in the morning. We were awake but still wearing our night clothes.
Imam said an American patrol had been hit by a roadside bomb close to her home earlier that morning. A Marine had been killed. She decided it wasn't safe to go to school, and her father had gone to his room to pray. That's when the Marines burst through their door.
I heard explosions by the door. The Americans came into the room where my father was praying and shot him. They went to my grandmother and killed her too. I heard an explosion. They threw a grenade under my grandfather's bed.
These pictures show American forces arriving in Haditha after the roadside bomb. Imam says the Marines that entered her home were angry.
We were all crying, but the Americans were also screaming. They were shouting at my father before they killed him.
Imam showed us the shrapnel bullet-riddled neighbour's house, where 2 women and 4 children, the youngest just 2 years old, were among those killed by Marines. Imam's account of what happened can't be independently verified, but the American military has long since abandoned its original story that shrapnel from the roadside bomb planted 150 metres away killed all the civilians. And bullet holes that suggest forced entry appear to undermine the latest US position that the civilians caught in crossfire were killed accidentally by Marines. Iman and the other survivors have even been offered an apology. She can't accept it.
They kill people, then they say sorry. I hate them.
Paul Davis there. It is 4 months since the attack on Iman's home. Not an easy task, then, for US military investigators. So, what happened on November the 19th last year? A US Humvee was hit by a roadside bomb, killing 1 Marine and wounding 2 others. The following day, the army issued a statement saying that 15 Iraqi civilians had also been killed in the same incident. But now it's claimed US Marines went on a rampage after the attack, killing those 15 civilians in their homes, including 7 women and 3 children. The military concluded that the Iraqis were killed by the Marines, but only in the crossfire, and described the deaths as collateral damage. But then in March they announced a criminal investigation had been launched. Well, our correspondent John Irvine is in Washington tonight. John, how seriously do the US military appear to be trying to get to the bottom of this incident?
Well, the Pentagon say they're taking it very seriously and that a major investigation is underway. Other inquiries into alleged misconduct in Iraq have led to the prosecution of soldiers, of course, most notably in the Abu Ghraib case. That prisoner scandal some time ago now came from out of the blue, and it was a turning point in this country, for it convinced many Americans that Iraq is a lost cause. By contrast, these allegations about Marine misconduct in Haditha have gone largely unnoticed here. That's because for 3 years now, Americans have been watching barbaric images and hearing distressing stories out of Iraq, and they've simply become inured to it. Also, there is the sense that whatever those Marines did in Haditha, they were reduced to doing it by the overall situation on the ground in Iraq.
John, thank you. Also in Iraq today, kidnappers released unharmed an American journalist held hostage since January. Jill Carroll, seen here during her captivity making an appeal on an Arab TV station, was seized in Baghdad whilst working for the Christian Science Monitor. Today she spoke about her ordeal.
I'm just happy to be free. I was treated very well. It's important people know that I was not harmed. They never said they would hit me, never threatened me in any way.
Coming up on the programme, the latest delay to Wembley and the legal fight that could cost the FA millions. But first, official figures published by the government are usually assumed to be correct. But that assumption may not be safe if today's calculations of racist incidents recorded by the police are anything to go by. The Home Office said in Hertfordshire that those incidents were up by 123%. But Hertfordshire told us they were in fact down by 8.2%. And this was far from being the only or the worst error. Well, to our chief political correspondent, Daisy McAndrew, now at the Home Office. Daisy.
Well, James, this is the brand new £300 million home of the Home Office, the biggest department in Whitehall. And if our investigations today are anything to go by, also the most inefficient.
Today's a red letter day for the Home Office.
More like a red face day, Mr. Clark. Today was Super Thursday, the day the Home Office releases hundreds of statistics to eager journalists. And some caught our eye that didn't look so super, more just wrong.
We've published very detailed research today, as we do every month, going through the statistics. As you say, it's patchy in character, and we'll analyse carefully what they mean.
Well, we did it for you, and what they mean is pretty shocking. We spoke to 3/4 of the police forces in England, and we calculate the Home Office got 1/3 of their figures wrong. For example, the Home Office says the number of racist incidents recorded by police in Dorset went up 556%. They tell us they actually only went up 56%. The Home Office says North Yorkshire Police recorded an increase of 224%. They tell us that was only 26%. And Nottinghamshire Police are said to have recorded a 28% decrease in racial incidents. They tell us they increased by 5%. Also, Hertfordshire Police say they told the Home Office their figures were wrong 2 weeks ago, and Lincolnshire Police told us they hadn't even seen today's figures, which were double their own.
I think with the Home Office, it's more often cock-up than conspiracy. I'll be kind to them, that they have a terrible record of producing statistics that in the end don't seem to make sense or don't accord with the reality.
But getting things wrong seems to be a habit for the Home Office. The department submitted their accounts late to the National Audit Office this year, and they didn't even balance. It was the only department to be failed. And the Home Secretary in January was forced to set up a cross-party review on crime statistics, admitting they confuse most people. And an inquiry in 2004 into David Blunkett's resignation discovered his correspondence wasn't kept on file and key documents went missing. And not much has changed. ITV News has seen a recent email from Charles Clarke's special advisor saying, please fax or email Charles's office to prevent it getting lost in the department.
Probably very good advice if you're thinking of contacting the Home Office. I can tell you the Home Office has contacted us tonight as a result of our inquiries. They say the reports have now been removed from the public domain for a brief period while they clarify a few issues in relation to these statistics. James.
Daisy, thank you. Now, he has made some astonishing claims in the witness box in the trial of 7 alleged terrorists at the Old Bailey. Today, their lawyers got the chance to try and turn the tables on Mohammed Baba. They accused him of inventing evidence to save himself. In court, he admitted plotting twice to assassinate the President of Pakistan. Our UK editor John Ray reports.
For a week, this man's story has enthralled the Old Bailey.